You feel pretty confident?
Yeah, we got fuel in it.
You feel
so.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to try it, I'm willing to try it.
Yeah.
Let's roll it forward, though. I want it.
Yeah, no better time than the present.
Yeah, this is not your Prius right here.
No, no.
Oh, my. Crazy.
Yeah, every time one of these starts, a Prius dies.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Try it. Hang on, back up, tell the whole story.
This time on Graveyard Carz, witness history in reverse as the story of the legendary burnt orange 1970 Dodge Charger 426 Hemi is revealed. From disassembly to panel replacement, bodywork, primer, and final paint. Witness American muscle back from the dead on this special episode of Graveyard Carz.
We're going to get a jump start on one of the new projects, the 70 Hemi Charger, by getting it disassembled. 426 Hemi, one of 56 made. 410 Dana Super Track Pack. This car is all numbers. Numbers motor, numbers transmission, all original car. Most of the paint on it's original. It was always the family plan to have the father give the son the 70 Hemi Charger after he passed on. That's where we are today. So now the gentleman I'm working with is excited about getting the car back on the road again, back to life. He has a lot of great stories to tell about it, and we're really looking forward to helping him realize his dream. The motor is seized, it does not turn over. He's worried that the motor could be bad, which, as you know, when you talk about a 1 of 56 numbers matching 70 Hemi Charger with a Super Track Pack, that can devalue it, not only devalue it, but just emotionally for him, that's going to be a shot, because this is the original motor that his dad drove all the time as he was growing up.
At first glance, the engine looked pretty messed up. Looked like it'd been sitting out in the open for quite a while. I was wondering how easy it was going to come apart. Doesn't look like it would come apart very easily.
We're doing pretty good on the engine. We got a little bit of a standstill just because the intake manifold is really fused into place, and you have to be really careful because it's aluminum. So we got to take our time to try to get that thing to finally break its seal, and once it does, we can get that off. Right now I'm putting in some penetrating oil in the cylinders, mostly just to help break it up, so between the ring and the actual cylinder wall itself, to do the least amount of damage to the walls. She's frozen solid. If you force one right there, you can end up breaking the ring up against the piston, causing damage in the actual cylinder wall itself. So we're going to have to take the pan off it, take the rest of it apart, and actually take the pistons out this direction. Pistons, we can buy new ones. They obviously need it. We're not going to be able to save them anyway. The part you don't want to sacrifice is the original numbers matching block and cylinder wall. There's no disappointment here. Actually, this is a really good thing that there's not freeze cracks in the valley, which is one of the things that can happen, or freeze cracks in the block. So far, everything we're looking at looks really good. Once we got the Hemi engine completely apart and inventoried and good photographs of everything that we have, we called the machine shop so they could come down, pick everything up, take it back to the shop, put it in their hot tank, get everything cleaned, get it bead blasted so we can inspect it for damages. Today we're putting together the 426 Hemi for the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. The machine shop has done all the work on the engine. It just came back a couple of days ago, so I just did a little bit of fine tuning and fine cleaning on it. These are the last 8 characters of the VIN number of the 70 Charger RT. So these main bearings, just like the rod bearings, have these actual tabs right here. So you'll see the tab there. You'll notice this one has no hole in it. This one has the hole. And the tab is there, and the tab is there. So we know that it goes down here, pushes down into place. So we have the front, which is represented by the F. Can't get that messed up. That goes at the front of the block, like that. Once the crankshaft is installed, this will be 2, this will be 3, this will be 4, and this will be rear. Now we're ready to set the actual crankshaft down in there. Make sure you use an assembly lube of some sort. I like to be plentiful, because you're not going to hurt anything by being plentiful. So we're going to set the crankshaft in now. Okay. I always just like to check everything before, as you put it together, you keep checking how easy it rotates. Instead of putting the whole thing together, rotating it, find out it doesn't rotate. So these are the main caps. You know, it's a real treat for me to be able to work on engines like the 426 Hemi and the 440s and the 6-packs and the 346 packs and 6 barrels. You always have to take your time when you do it. But the Hemi is what really launched the top fuel dragsters into doing the things that they do today. The Hemi was durable. The hemispherical design of the head allowed that fuel in and out of there as fast as they could get it in and out of there. And of course, with a puffer or a blower on top, there was no restriction. The Hemi really created the world of drag racing that you see today. It was inspired and driven and motivated by the Hemi. Again, the early version Hemi. A normal main bearing for like one of the 440s or the 340s just bolt on with this bolt hole here and this bolt hole here. On a Hemi, they knew it was going to produce a lot of horsepower. They didn't want the ability to bust a block, so they tied the block and the main bearings together besides just in the middle with this. That's what these holes here are for. We're not only going to put bolts down through here, but we're going to put our cross bolts in too. We're going to tie the block to the main caps and the main caps to the block. So it's going to make it impenetrable, or as they did blow up a lot of them anyway. See how that just threads in there real nice? Okay, so what we want to do is just make sure these are down into place before we put our cross bolts in. So I'm just putting about 10 pounds on them is all. So a little something to make sure that they're seated against the actual block itself.
Stay tuned as the ghouls strive to restore one of only 56 1970 Hemi Dodge Charger 4-speeds ever created on this special episode of Graveyard Cars.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, this station will remain on the air day and night.
With the 426 Hemi completely built out and ready for its final assembly, I can move forward with painting the actual engine itself.
Where if you would have brought me back sooner, I could have done it for you.
Street Hemi orange, and the guy actually wanted it done right.
And that's
So,
why you could have had me do it for you.
I remember you paint great, but I'm a great painter.
Just a motor.
So we're at the point now where the engine's ready to paint. All of the pieces that are supposed to go on the outside of it so that they can go orange are on and in place. The valve covers are masked off because they stay crinkle black. And we got it lifted up on the hoist. I've got the paint mixing right now inside. I'm gonna turn the booth on, warm everything up, and get ready to start painting. So the engine's been painted, the paint has been cured, it's been lowered down onto the easy run engine stand. So now it's time to start plumbing it out. Robert just came up and got me a couple minutes ago. Wants me to sign off on the metal work on the 70 Hemi Charger, so I'm getting ready to walk out and do that now.
That was actually pretty quick for you guys.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, Mark.
Just kidding. Okay.
But we got, I wanted you to check it out before we continued. There's our door gap on
This
the
is
door.
our original door, right?
Right, original door.
That's a really good line. Just make sure that that door's got more adjustment to go
Okay.
forward.
I'm just
Yeah, it's
you know,
gonna
we
suck
realize
in
it's
here,
going to bring
right.
it out, but
Right.
we can, once we get the patch in here, we'll be moving it around a bit more.
Yep. The sheet metal right now, the way the guys have it, look really good. It's in its ugliest stage. There's a lot of ugly welding and there's problems that need to be cleaned up, but basically what they needed me to do was to sign off and make sure that the basic lines are there that they can sculpt out from there and make it the complete finished off product that it needs to be.
And then here's our fit for the trunk jam. And once we get the rubbers and the bumpers in, it'll, right? You happy with that?
Rear body panel, nice spot welds.
Yeah, the AIM machine just really lays down nice tight spots, don't it? That looks factory, doesn't it?
That looks really good.
Yeah.
So I green lighted them on that, and they can move on to the front half of the body now. I'm good with that.
All right.
Don't forget about the door gap. Maybe needing to be just a little bit fatter before you start doing your body and your paint.
All right, we'll take care of it. Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Why is it important to undercoat a car? It's important because factory did it. So we're just matching what factory did originally. When you're driving down the road, that's pretty thick rubber that goes across the bottom of it. So it keeps the bottom of the car a lot cleaner, so your car's not getting beat up quite as bad, on top of the fact that it does help prevent some road noise.
With our 70 Hemi Charger getting really close to paint, now's the time to start mixing up the FK5 Burnt Orange. I've got 3 gallons of original mixed up color that will need to be tinted, I guarantee it. Once that's done and I have an exact copy of the original, I'm gonna reduce it 100% and it'll be ready to spray on the car. That will give us 6 gallons of sprayable material. So what I want to do today is just take a few minutes and show you what goes into the tinting of the color. So what I've got setting here right now, this is the original left-hand door flare off of our 1970 Dodge Charger 426 Hemi 4-speed Super Track Pack car. The paint code is FK5. It's deep burnt orange or just burnt orange. What you want to make sure of is that when you're tinting your color to match, that what you're matching to is the correct color. I opened up the deck lid on it, I held it up to the deck lid, walked the light back and forth across it, and realized that this had not faded from the deck lid. So this is an original formula, original spray. This is the closest match that PPG came up with to the factory FK5 Burnt Orange. Having looked at FK5 my entire life, I can tell you that it's gonna be a little bit light. But I'm gonna spray this out because I need to determine a couple of things. Number one, how many coats does it take to cover? After that, I need to figure out what I have to do to the color to make it match. So now I'm gonna start putting the coats on the actual card itself to see how many coats it takes to hide. You can see the transparency that we have with one coat. Second coat. Now some paint reps, and I know they get crazy, and right now there's probably some of them sitting at home calling me the most horrific names. They're gonna say what you should have done was sprayed the card with one coat of something that's consistent. Like spray it with a black ground coat or a red ground coat to cover up all those lines. All that's doing is lying. One, you don't have the true color. Two is you can't match a transparent paint. I hate to say 10 coats, but that's what it is. Coat 10. And then this is my safety coat. I just kind of mix the colors, the metallic, so they lay out nice, and that should be done. And I'm running the light around it. Can you see through that? We're covered. So now what we need to do is take a look at how we look against the panel. So when I look at that, I see that those toners that made the color so rich back in the day are the ones that are affected by it. They're the ones that probably don't have the lead and the other content in them. That's why they don't have the ability to cover it. So I've got to add extra color. So I'm going to dump some in there. You just got to know your toners. Some of these are a little stronger than others. I'm liking the looks of that. Let's see what our new color looks like now. This is our spray out card. We were tinting around in there. I'm gonna cover an area of it, start spraying the new color on there. By now our color ought to be dry, and it's pretty darn close. So what I'll do now is I'll go in and I'll start mixing up the rest of the gallons, adding the tint and the toners that I need to be able to bring them around to that. Then I'll pour the 3 of them together, and we'll have 3 gallons that'll reduce to 6 gallons of sprayable with reducer of original FK5 Burnt Orange. What was Chrysler's official term for the stripe tape on the deck lid and quarter panels of the 1970 Dodge Charger? Was it transverse, bumblebee, wraparound? The answer coming up after the break.
First eyewitness accounts of this grisly development came from people who were understandably frightened.
So what did Chrysler call the tape stripe that went on the deck lid and the quarter panels of the 1970 Dodge Charger? The correct answer is transverse. While we all know them as a bumblebee stripe, and even some ads called them a bumblebee stripe, Chrysler's official term was transverse.
This incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report.
Life is good. Turn go. And that's got the U-joint bolts in it, so you can hook it anywhere you want. Mike and I are working on doing the plumbing, the final plumbing on the rear brakes for the 1970 426 Hemi Charger. Remember, this is a 410 Dana. We're installing new brake lines and new flex line to go along with the rest of the detailed assembly. So your brake line, I always go with the mild steel. They make a stainless steel one, just so you know. So when you're ordering them and they say stainless steel or original, go with original. We don't want it to look any fancier, schmancier, or anything else. It doesn't seem like that fits that great. So it rides up on the top of that. See the 8 3/4 with that pumpkin in the back, that pumpkin shape? That crown fits it really nicely.
It's always nice when replacing the rear brake lines on a car or any brake lines on a car. It's a good thing to take a picture of them before or have a rear end close by that he can walk over and look at. I've done so many of them, it's a piece of cake. I do them in my sleep.
Seems a little overkill.
It does seem a little overkill.
Okay, you need to figure out what way that thing goes down on there because you got another line coming right over here.
Okay, and let's look at this other one. So,
this is a little bit different on the E-body than it is on the B-body, but so let's do the other brake line.
okay.
That way we'll know where that thing probably goes. Put that in there. Now make sure, unlike Royal, you don't cross-thread this. We've got the housing, we've got the differential, the cover, the backing plates, all the brake stuff done. We were just waiting for Mr. Mopars to send us out the rear brake lines. This is one of the things we're going to get better at making sure we have in stock. Rear brake lines, emergency brake cables, and the leaf spring rebuild kits, which just showed up. Don't let me forget to order the axle tag, because actually right where that's at, I think that's where the axle tag, no, it goes on the left side, sorry. Forgot about that. There's a part number tag that goes over here on the left-hand side once you install it in the car. Plus I got to put the X on the back of this. We still need to detail this out with the paint marks. Yeah, I think that's it, okay. All right. And believe me, now's the time to tighten everything down because Royal always says, let's do it in the car, do it in the car. Yeah, do it when the car's 10 feet in the air, you're upside down, your head's hurting because you're old and fat, and then you can't see if it's actually leaking. Why not just do it now? But I do want to do it with a flare nut wrench. I don't want to do it with this.
Okay.
Okay. Tighten one outer. And all these being new lines, they tend to want to leak pretty easy. Look at that beautiful setup, huh? Did a good job, Mickey Doodle. That's Mickey's first brake job on one of these. OEM, got it right. Got the primary shoe in the front, secondary shoe in the back. Got your self-adjuster correct for the 10-inch, different than that for 11-inch. Got the horseshoe clips in place. Double springs gray originally, that looks good. Got the tension spring, self-adjuster spring, self-adjuster. Now the question is, do you got the right and left? Yep, you do. You got the right and left in place, right?
No, I'm not threatened by Mike taking my job. He needs to learn this stuff. The more he learns, the more he can do, the more we can turn out, the quicker we can get them done. It's a win-win situation.
All right, too bad I'm blind as a bat and I have to wear Mr. Magoo glasses. Well, look at that old tiger.
That one.
Old tiger paw. Now, let's just go grab you a pair of pliers. Mike is like a moose. He's my friend.
A moose.
So when he pulls that, that's the same as pulling the cable inside the car. That's gonna expand these out into the brake drum. The brake drum would be right here. You're gonna set the parking brake, see how that opens that up, and that's the primary shoe that's gonna lock her up. Beautiful, there's that.
Perfect.
Once we had the axle assembly completely built out and detailed for our 70 Hemi Charger, it was time to lay out some beautiful FK5 burnt orange. No, that's
where I stepped in.
I think you missed beautiful, and no, I painted the car because the owner wanted me to paint the car.
With my guidance.
I think I had Tack Boy tack cloth it for me. Didn't I have you wax and grease it and tack it for me?
No.
You're a good old boy. You're changing locks at the school district.
That's Royal.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's an exciting day for me. This is our FK5 Burnt Orange 70 Hemi Charger, right? As anybody that's ever known me, the show, read anything about me, my favorite color of all time was burnt orange. So when I made the deal with the guy who owns this, I said, I will paint the car personally, because number one, I've never sprayed FK5 since I was a kid doing touch-ups on my own car. And two is, I needed it to be perfect. I've got the car masked up. It's been finished off in 320 grit sandpaper. I did 4 primum blocks on this thing. I've added a little bit of seam sealer. They didn't do that here from the factory. I did add some, a little bit up in here, some on the bottom where the right-hand hinge pillar actually meets the rocker. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go get my acid etch, which is a 1K etch primer, and some Scotch-Brite, knock that little bit of rust off, walk around this thing with a fine-tooth comb with my extra set of glasses. Next stop, I'm gonna start sealing it and basing it and clearing it.
evidence that the unburied dead are coming back to life.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
As you look around Graveyard Carz now, it's a 22,000 square foot building. When we moved in, it was an absolute warehouse. The heat in the offices and throughout the entire building was old electric heat. There was actually a light bulb used out in the machine shop to heat the shop. So I knew that one of the things I was going to have my hands full with is trying to do some type of climate control in here. Heat, maybe some air conditioning. Didn't even know about ductless air systems. I thought I was prepared to have this huge 20,000 square foot of ducting, exhaust work, air makeup systems, fire suppression systems. Who knows what all goes with it? Every square inch costs money. As I go through my little checkoff list of I need to have it quiet, I need to have it out of the way, I don't want anything getting hit. It needs to be efficient too. So that's why we're going with Carrier. This unit is, I believe it's reported between 30 and 50% more efficient than the typical ducted system. You can run it or not run it. It's zone control. So if I don't need it in the theater, because we're not in the theater all the time, I just don't have it on. It's compact, it's quiet, it's up, it's out of the way. Nobody's gonna get hurt. Nobody's gonna run into it. I'm gonna suffer no loss as a result of it being there. I mean, the more I get sold on the idea of the ductless system, the more it just makes perfect sense to me.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, this station will remain on the air day and night. This incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report.
So what we're doing is we're getting the 70 Hemi Charger ready for its final paint. As I've said before, we paint everything twice, especially the metallic cars. It's more important. Reason being, if you paint metallic in pieces, it won't match when you put it together. Even this car, which is very, very close, and we painted it with the same number of coats and the same application, the same air pressure, you can still see a difference between the door and the fender. How we doing, boss? How's my blocking doing?
Doing great.
Yeah. I said that.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, it's just everybody says doing great, but whoa.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just wondering what we're doing up here.
Up where?
Hang on. Maybe it's Braille. Oh, it is. I missed this
area.
boss.
Right. But here was the problem.
Because hang on, I'm not done reading yet. Too bright. No, right. No, right. You see what I'm getting at?
Yes, the
okay.
paint's thick here.
Yes, it is.
It is.
See
you
how
put your clear coat on too heavy.
Oh.
And then it ringed up around it.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's like that.
Right now I'm going over this area that Will said was perfect and just seeing some raised areas here. Holes always build up. The paint builds up in these holes and then it falls. And when it falls, it leaves a big fat spot, a sag. So my final sanding is actually doing two things. It's getting rid of imperfections like that, as well as swelling in the paint from the first paint job, orange peel, texture, things like that. It's also providing a bite for the new paint. 320 grit is a great grit to finish with when you're getting ready to put 6 or 7 more coats of base on it and clear over the top of that. Is this my suit back here?
That one's mine.
Okay, all right.
This one's yours.
Okay, because I'm the 2X. Because I'm the moose.
No. No, I'm not doing that fat joke.
Yeah, let's not.
That's stupid.
Let's not go there.
I don't want to either.
What are you doing?
I'm helping.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I got a stomach right there. Good Lord, you crazy son of a. What do you think, it's just gonna stretch over my stomach? So I kind of getting ready to go in the ring, just waiting for the announcer. So what's going on right now is Will's mixing me up some color. I already got the DBC 500 laid down on it. It's kind of like a helper, like a good old boy you might see.
What's that, boss?
Go ahead and do the 1-to-1 on the FK5.
I know how to burn. I know the mixing ratio of the color.
Okay. What we're doing right now is we're doing the wet sand and buff. That's where you remove all of the orange peel and the imperfections that came in during the paint process, because no matter how hard you try, you don't get perfect. You're always gonna have a dirt nib Sometimes you have a little bit of a run. Sometimes you have orange peel. So what we're doing is the wet sanding and the buffing. Put your hat on, Larry.
My hat is.
Anyway, no, it's not. Anyway,
You want me to wet sand the car?
I would like you to wet sand up here with 1000 grit, right here, right?
fix all your imperfections.
Whatever, yeah.
Okay.
If you can lay it out without an orange peel, I'll kiss your Heinemann.
Heinemann?
I don't know. So what he's doing is he's taking a paint stick, just a regular old paint stick like this right here. We use that to hold the paper. And then we wrap 1000 grit. That's what we want on this. We want some 1000 grit. Diesel grit.
No, it's 1,000.
Yeah, but when you're cool, you call it a diesel.
You're not.
So that's what you see wrapped around here. That'll allow us to take the orange peel out. This one's actually shot. So when he's sanding like that with his dainty little hands, what he's doing is he's taking out the orange
They're not
peel.
dainty, they're regular hands.
That's a dainty way to hold a stick, man.
And how do you hold a stick?
Well, thank you for asking. I'll be happy to show you. There's some lube. Don't be afraid to get some on you. You should.
I don't want any on
Take
me.
that big old mitt, that big old paw, and you lay her down. You just lay into her.
No, that's exactly what I was doing.
No, you were doing this like you're playing a piano. So when we do this, this knocks down the orange peel and the texture, but it leaves 1000 grit scratches in it. 1000 grit scratches are very, very difficult to get out. You buff and buff and buff and buff. So when he has that all dried off, he'll dry it off and make sure he's got all of his orange peel out of it. This has all been wet sanded up here like his door, and it's ready to have 1500 grit. See those little jets right there? These little jets are gonna get the water, the soapy water on the panel. That's gonna lubricate this pad, and what I'm gonna end up doing is taking out the 1000 grit scratches and putting in 1500 grit scratches. Then the next step will be 2500 wet, and then I'm ready to buff it, and it'll just buff like butter. Will's a pop culture kid. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Your superheroes were on the back of a cereal box. Okay? Mine were in the ring. Mine were real, like Rocky Balboa.
He wasn't real.
You're an erection. Lasting longer than 4 hours. You need to see a doctor. True or false? In 1970, both the Dodge Challenger and Plymouth Barracuda came standard with tinted glass. The answer coming up after the break.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So, true or false, did the 1970 E-Body Dodge Challenger and Plymouth Barracuda come standard with the tinted glass? The answer is false. The tinted glass was an option on any of the E-Bodies in any of the years. It was mandatory, however, if you had an air-conditioned car, be that from 70 to 74. Otherwise, standard glass was clear.
This incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report.
So we're going to start over here with the transmission. These are the things, the history of the car, the finer points of detailing, we'll call it. That's going to be your job. It's time to put our final assembly line markings on the Dana and the transmission for our Hemi Charger. This is the funnest part of all. Really excited because Alyssa is showing a lot of interest, and I think she's going to be really good working with me on this.
Why did they do these? Is it just to mark that they got done, or?
They're like the transmission's been bolted down, the fluids are filled, the shift rod's been adjusted. These are all markings for the final inspector at the end of the assembly line. All these alphanumeric codes that you see, they correspond to markings on the engine and the transmission. Okay, not on my floor. It's a $250,000 floor. Oh my
It'll
God.
clean up.
Oh my God.
You're so dramatic. You put a lot of energy on things that don't matter, Dad.
This is polished floor. They cut it down with 40 grit, and then they polished it out with 80, and then they went to 120, 360, 400, 1,000, 2,000, and then they buffed it with a 480 volt machine so that it shines like glass, and you just throw paint on it like a crazy person, like a sociopath burning down a house.
Really? I'm a sociopath now?
Let's worry about the rear end now. Okay.
You know, other people doing this for the first time are gonna feel the exact same way I do.
I know it. But you're my daughter, and I expect perfection out of you, just like you hold me to a higher standard of perfection.
Only because all the smack you talk.
Right in there on that inside of that. No.
Oh, dear God.
Why have you gone crazy? I didn't mean with the yellow, I meant with the white.
Was I supposed to know that?
Oh, Mama.
Oh,
sorry,
you
I
are
thought
so
I went a little
stressful.
crazy. Yeah. Nice job. Give it up. Sweet. This is the original pistol grip shifter out of the car that the owner's father drove for 30 years. Most people would have just put the new aftermarket one in. I sent this out, spent $300 having it perfectly re-chromed. Because I have what?
Because a customer asked.
A heart.
It ain't that big.
Keep coming. Does it need to go back?
Doing the shorts.
It needs to go back about an inch.
About an inch.
Is where we'll be in.
Okay.
Hold up.
There you go. Basically, everything went great. The Hemi engine's massive, so getting it edged just so slightly right in between the frame rails takes that many guys to do if you don't want to scratch everything up. But now everything's up into place. They're bolting down the rest of the K-member bolts. All that's left is fasten all the things together that we've got ready to go together in the suspension. We're ready to let it down and start putting the rest of the car together.
The 70 Charger has those unique scoops over the scallops on the door. They're non-functional, but it just looks really cool with those scoops on the RT to be over the scallops like that on the door. It just gives it a really tough, mean look and appeal. Takes up a good portion of the door, and the body lines just seem to come right out of it. It looks really cool. It almost makes the car look like it's moving fast while it's sitting still. The Charger dash was fairly easy to install. Some give us problems, but that one there actually went really well. Okay. Head over to Mike's side and should be golden.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh hell yes. Got to put on my potty dress. I don't really have a party dress that I wear on a regular basis. With Instrument Specialties doing a beautiful job on the dash, we got it installed in the car. It's all hooked up, functioning, and ready to go. That means we're ready for a vinyl top and a headliner. That means we call Larry. Once that's done, we can start buttoning up the rest of the interior.
The Charger steering column is pretty straightforward. The 70, of course, has ignition inside the column. So you got a few more items that you got to adjust, like your steering wheel locks and your ignition switch and your ignition lock and all that. Basically 10 main components inside there that you got to mess with, but it's just getting all the details just right, all your wiring in the right place so it doesn't pinch, cause any shorts or anything. That'll save you a bunch of time in the future. Before we do the interior, especially the carpet, we put in our sound deadening material.
This is the old school stuff that we used to use. It's really tacky, really hard to work with. It doesn't want to stay in a certain form. You got to glue it down. So nowadays we got this Dynamat. Yeah, once it's down, it's down. So make sure you got it where you want it, because there's no change in it once it's stuck to the floor pan of this thing. If you try to wear gloves with this, it will literally take the gloves right off your hands. It has like this rubber backing. That's actually the sound deadening material. Then it's got this aluminum top coat that's like a heat shield for the floorboards and everything, so the floor doesn't get hot. This aluminum is really sharp. It'll just cut your fingers wide open. So now I just kind of peel some back, like that, and just kind of work it in there. And this stuff just contours into every little nook and cranny. So I'm in good shape now, so I'll back peel that. There you go. One piece down, 5 more, 6 more to go.
feel pretty confident?
Yeah, we got fuel in
you
it.
feel
so-
good? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to try it, I'm willing to try it. Yeah, this is not your Prius right here.
No.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, this station will remain on the air day and night. It has been established that the unburied dead are coming back to life.
Well, we tried to get our 70 Charger RT 426 Hemi 4-speed car, tried to light it up, and we were having a problem with our positive cable. When you touch the positive cable to the positive side of the battery, it was just arcing. Zap, 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 just like you were arc welding. So we knew we immediately had a problem. So the first thing we turned to is there's a heat shield over the starter. Metal heat shield bolted to the starter, so if that wire's touching there, it's gonna cause a problem. So we started there, started troubleshooting the system, went through the entire system and came all the way back to the alternator, and it turned out that an alternator was our problem. Now on the alternator, on the back of it, there's a stud. It's supposed to have a little plastic insulating washer, so when your cable goes on there in the nut, it's supposed to insulate it from grounding out onto the alternator. Well, that insulating washer was gone. So it was just direct contact, so it was basically the whole engine was our positive side of the battery, so it was just hot. So as soon as you touch it, it would just ground, bap, just cause that thing to arc. So we solved our problem that way.
The thing about the insulating washer is I don't hold anybody responsible for that other than the person that remanufactured it and sent it to us without it. It's easy to overlook, especially when you're putting a car together that has thousands of parts and every one of those parts needs to be detailed and correctly plated and installed on the car. I'm just thankful that nothing bad happened. I'm thankful that we caught it before it burned the fusible link. I'm thankful that we caught it before it burned the car to the ground. We're too close to the finish line on this one to have anything silly like that happen, and the car just means way too much to everybody involved. So it was a blessing that we found it eventually before something bad went wrong.
You know, you think out of the box, you know, that it wouldn't be a problem, but you know, people make mistakes when they rebuild things, and sure enough, that's what happened here. But it was an easy fix, so that always makes it nice. Dodges have what they call a fusible link wire, which is a fail-safe. It's almost like a little 2.5-inch piece of wire. It's right here, it's this blue one, but that's your fail-safe. Whenever the system overloads, it will burn that wire in half. And that wire essentially saves all the ignition wiring and all the wiring underneath of the dash. There's people that have bypassed the fusible link wire thinking, oh, I got a short in my system and it won't let my car start. I'm just gonna bypass that, and those are the cars you see caught on fire. So if you got problems with an arc or something sparking, or that fusible link wire's getting hot and starting to smoke, you gotta troubleshoot the problem and get it fixed properly before you even try to run and drive the car. Or you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna burn it right to the ground. And you don't wanna do that on a car like this. Yeah, so basically what we need to do now to get it running is we're just gonna do a fluid check. I had the car up in the air because I put all the heat shield and everything back on the starter. So I filled the transmission up with gear oil while I was under there, but we'll go ahead and fill up the radiator. Obviously, we got our new radiator hose on there, it's ready to go. So, and then we'll check our engine oil and fluids and everything, and get our ignition system fired up, make sure we got spark, and give her a go here and see if we can get her running. So basically, I'm just gonna hook up my positive cable here, which is on there. I'm gonna grab my test light over here real quick. I'm gonna get me a good ground here. I'm just gonna end up putting it on the ground cable on the battery. So I got some heat there. My test light's lit up. I got a good ground. I'm gonna turn my key on all the way. I'm gonna get over here, see if I can reach my ballast resistor. You can see I got heat there. So I'm gonna kind of hold that there, come back, turn my key off. So you can see the light goes out, turn my key on. I know I got heat off, on. So I know I got power going down to my coil. I'll just go ahead and check through my ballast resistor and check the positive side of my coil. And there, you can see we got some heat to our coil. So that's what we want to see. So we know we're getting power to our ignition system, which is in a sense going to help us start the car. Now that that's done, I want to make sure it's in neutral, and have any problem with my linkage, you know, I want to make sure the car's off the ground before we start it so we don't get a run over. Disconnect that. Been having some problems with my reverse lockout system on this. So we're gonna have to eventually go through and adjust all our rods, because right now the car's not sitting in the neutral because my lockout's sticking. So I'm gonna try to get it there. I'm just kind of checking my wheels and see they're locked. So I'm like in gear, but in there it's showing on the shifter that I'm in neutral. So I obviously got something wrong in there. So I'm just trying to kind of get it to unbind. So we'll give her a whirl there and see. This should be neutral on our car. So we'll give that a shot. So we're gonna go down.
Did you figure out what that ground problem was?
Yeah.
Feel pretty confident?
Yeah, we got fuel in it.
Feel
so.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to try it, I'm willing to try it.
Yeah.
Let's roll it forward, though. I want it.
Yeah, no better time than the present.
Because the clutch switch is still hooked up, right? It is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Clutch switch on.
So I'm going to let you get inside the car and I guess run it. Do you want to put something in there to sit on, or how do you want to do it?
No, I'll just kind of kneel in there as long as I get my foot on the clutch.
I can run the throttle if you can just push the clutch.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not your Prius right here.
No, no.
Oh my. Crazy.
Yeah, every time one of these starts, a Prius dies.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Try her. Oil pressure?
Sounds good. Sounds nice.
It does.
Boy, does that thing put on some air or what? You're a mile away.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds good. Sounds great on the back, too.
Engine runs absolutely great. It ran great on the engine run stand, but it's always a worry that when you get it in the car itself, it's not going to.
Yeah.
Fired right up, purred like a kitten, actually runs better than most Hemis do.
Yeah.
Go bazinga. Hold the ignition on.
Yep.
And look at Nick. And go bazinga.
Bazinga.
Just hold it, no, hold it all the way on. Yeah, yeah.
Bazinga.
And then let off. Now the engine's running.
Yeah, just like that. All right, so our seat's all in there, and make sure our latch and everything works here. Swing's good, locks down good. Awesome, beautiful seat. Now we're that much further to having this car done.
The final assembly is underway. The crew is focused. The tools are in place. The clock is ticking. See every detail, every struggle, and every victory that paved the way for this American masterpiece to ride again. Watch as the ghouls rush to restore the 1970 Hemi Dodge Charger in time for the biggest reveal in Graveyard Carz history. Coming up next time on Graveyard Carz.